Okay, I think we got an okay setup here. We're 2 for 2 now. Every time I want to record a sit-down video, it always happens to be on the darkest, gloomiest days. But we're just gonna roll with it. Hopefully the lighting is okay and audio and everything. I'm using my external microphone so that hopefully there's not a huge echo. Still working on settling into the house. And I still would like to figure out some sort of filming setup where I can have like a nice background whenever I want to record a podcast episode or some kind of sit down thing like this. But for now, we're just going to make do with our makeshift tripod. You're just on a couple stacked boxes on top of my dining room table. So anyway, hi. Welcome back. I thought this week we could do a Q&A. I've been starting to get some like repeat questions in every video. So it just felt like, all right, it's probably time that we just, sit and chat and do a Q&A. So let me find these questions. I posted on my community tab. I haven't really thoroughly read them or planned out my responses or anything like that. So we are just going to have a real open, honest chat. And I'm going into work today. So I figured I got to get ready and put some makeup on anyway. So I'm going to do my makeup while I talk. And it's going to be hard for me to like talk about what I'm using and also answer questions, So I'll link everything that I'm using in order. So if you're curious about any of the products that I use, they'll be in the description. Okay, the first one I see right at the top, what happened to the Ireland trip? So I was approached by a company that does group trips. And they do influencer hosted group trips. I talked about it quite a bit. It was supposed to be happening this coming October, but there's a minimum of people that they need to sign up in order to make the group trip happen. Like, obviously it costs money for them to have their team plan and organize the whole thing and then be there and doing the tours and all of that kind of stuff. Right off the jump, more than enough people saved a spot and like expressed interest in wanting to go, but then not enough people were actually like making their deposit. And unless you put money down, obviously there's no guarantee that you're like actually gonna go. And I just feel like with everything that's going on right now, the way the economy is and everything, like I think that the cost of the trip was totally reasonable for what you were getting, but also like reasonable or not, it's still a lot of money. So I don't know. I just felt weird, like trying to push it too much. I don't know. So it just kind of got to a point where it was like, all right, well, we need to talk about our options. Like, are we going to try to keep pushing it more or should we just postpone it until further notice? And we just decided to put everything on pause. So the trip is not happening. However, it's not like totally off the table. So who knows, maybe in the future we can revisit the idea of doing it again, because I was really looking forward to it. And the handful of people who did put down a deposit got their money refunded. That's the update on that. Ireland trip. Not happening as of right now. Oh, okay. I have a couple sexual identity, sexual orientation questions. When did you know you were bisexual? And do you see yourself forever with a male or female partner? So it's kind of funny because when I look back now, it was always very obvious and apparent that I like had feelings for girls and guys. But I think that like, in our society, the default is just being heterosexual. And I knew like, yes, I am interested in guys. So I didn't even think anything past that. And I think that like nowadays, obviously it's like very common. You hear all the time, people are like, yeah, I'm bisexual. But I don't know, growing up, like I knew being bisexual was a thing, but I think I just kind of always was like, well, you're either gay or you're straight. If I know I'm attracted to guys, obviously I'm not gay. And like women are beautiful. So having girlfriends and thinking that they're pretty and feeling like a sense of attraction towards them, like especially when you're still at an age where like you haven't started having any like sexual experiences yet, I think it can be hard to like tell the difference between, do I just find my friends pretty and do I just like appreciate their femininity, or am I like into them, you know? And growing up, my next door neighbor was my absolute best friend. We were so close. We did everything together. She ended up coming out as a lesbian. And it's funny because prior to that, like now, again, I look back and I'm like, oh, I think we were in love with each other. But as a kid, when you're not really thinking about that kind of stuff, you're just like, oh yeah, we're just best friends. Like we're just super close. We do everything together. It's totally normal and makes sense that she would get super jealous if I'm hanging out with a different female friend. If I had a crush on a boy, she would like sabotage it kind of. And at the time I was like, that's shitty. Like why would she do that? That's just like rude. Like what a bad friend. And now looking back with more perspective, I'm like, oh no, she just wanted me to herself. And in like a, you know, young, immature way, it makes sense. But honestly, my like true realization didn't happen until like within the last 5 years or so. So when I first moved down to North Carolina, I met a girl here. And immediately, like first time I saw her, I was like, oh, I want to do dirty things with her. I feel like that was maybe the first time that I really had that feeling where like I truly was like, no, I'm going to pursue this. And I did pursue that. And we did end up having relations. And that definitely confirmed, like, yeah, I like this. I'm into this. Like, this feels natural to me. And as far as like, do I see myself with a male or female partner long term? I really don't know. When I picture my life and my future, I don't necessarily see a specific person with me. And I'm kind of going through like a phase right now where I'm sort of like, I don't know that I see myself with anybody. Like, I think I actually can picture myself alone, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. But either way, when I picture myself, it's more so like a personality and a certain relationship dynamic that I picture more so than like picturing an actual physical person and what they look like and what their gender is, if that makes sense. So I don't know. As far as am I attracted to men more or women more or anything like that, I don't know. I think that like obviously I spent more of my adult life dating and sleeping with men. So that just feels like more familiar to me. But as far as who I'm attracted to, I couldn't tell you. Like, I don't think that I really have a physical type one way or the other. It really is just like a vibe thing and a personality thing. That's why I have a hard time with the dating apps, because I could see a picture of someone and maybe find them attractive in photos, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'll find them attractive in person. Once I see the way someone carries themselves, the way they speak, the way that they just interact with other people, their body language, their humor, like all of those kinds of things play such a huge part in someone's attractiveness. And it's funny because I feel like I've met so many people just in real life and I'm like, oh my God, I'm just so attracted to them. I can't really explain it. But then when you like just look at a picture, like, you know, when you're interested in someone, right? And your friends are like, oh, send a picture. I want to see what they look like. And you're like, this doesn't really do them justice. Like, they don't necessarily look super attractive in the picture. Like, you have to meet them in person to understand, you know? So I feel like for me, it's totally an energy thing, a vibe thing. Like, just because I am sexually attracted to women doesn't mean that I find all women sexually attractive. And also, like, I can find a woman really beautiful and attractive, but it doesn't mean that I necessarily am interested in like pursuing something with them in a romantic or sexual way. And same with men. Like, I have a lot of male friends that I absolutely love to death, and I think that they're very good looking, but you're my friend and I'm not like interested in you in that way, you know? Okay, going along with that, what does the ideal partner look like to you in terms of personality and characteristics? And then somebody had asked also, I guess a few years ago, after my ex and I broke up the first time around, I was reading off a list that I had made of what things I was looking for in a future partner. Because I remember my therapist at the time was like, you should write down things that you're looking for. You should have like 3 lists. Absolute must-haves that are non-negotiable, deal breakers, and then in the middle, like must-haves, things that would be nice, but you could live without. Like, it's not a total deal breaker if they don't have these traits or whatever. And I can't remember what I said in that video. And I honestly can't even remember which video it was to pull up right now to like replay it. But I just think that as I keep getting older, I'm in a different place in my life. And I've also just experienced more. Of course, what I find important is going to change. Obviously, if they are like misogynistic, homophobic, any of those kinds of things, that's a deal breaker to me. If you're super lazy, deal breaker. If you don't like animals, deal breaker. But what I'm looking for, I think right now, where I'm at in life, like I said, I keep going back and forth between, do I want like a traditional partnership where I am settled down with someone, we're living together, getting married, that sort of thing. Like, I don't know if I want that. Like, I've been really thinking about and exploring a non-traditional situation of maybe having a person and either being committed and exclusive to one another, but still having like separate homes, or maybe not being exclusive and having something that's more of a casual, open relationship dynamic. Like, which I don't know if I could do that. I think I would get jealous, actually. And I'm sure that like I'm feeling this way now because it's about to be summer and this is my first summer single again, and I just want to have fun. And honestly, who knows? Like, as soon as the weather starts to cool back down and we get closer to the holidays, I may be like, no, I want to be coupled up. But if we're talking about like settling down, having a partner, getting married, I just want someone that I truly can feel like I can rely on. Like, we are on the same team. It is a true equal partnership. And just having someone that like at the core is like truly just my best friend, and someone that just fully gets me and understands me, and I can be completely myself around them. Someone that I know I can trust, that, you know, I don't have to be like checking their location and tempted to look through their phone to see who are they talking to or anything like that. Someone that is highly motivated and hardworking and has good work ethic, because that's how I am. So I want someone that's going to match that same energy. And knowing that like if something were to happen and they were to like suddenly lose their source of income, not having to be panicked and worried about like, oh my God, well, now what? Like, now I'm going to have to help them find another job or, you know, figure out what's going to happen. Knowing that like, oh no, they got it. Like, they'll figure it out because they're resilient and highly motivated. Someone that is on the same page as me as far as values and worldviews. Like, basically, I want someone that's going to add something positive and bring value into my life. And I am going to give the same back to them, but I don't want it to feel like I'm just the one bringing everything to the table and you're just there existing. And now you're just like an added burden to me, because what's the point of that? I would rather just be alone and just have myself and my dog to worry about. Like, I don't need an adult child. And that's something actually that I've been learning, because I shared how I have been dating. Oh, and speaking of which, I know this wasn't a question, but I did get a comment because I shared how I started going on dates, and somebody had said something like, oh, don't you feel like it's a little bit too soon to be dating again? And, I had responded and said, like, well, technically, like, even though my ex and I didn't like physically separate, he didn't move out until December, but literally last July, 4th of July, I remember we had went up to Pennsylvania and having a conversation where, like, he told me that he was not in love with me anymore and had not felt in love with me for a long time. Okay. And I was like, all right, so what are we doing here? Like, you just moved in to my apartment a month ago. And then there was sort of a conversation of, well, there's things that we can kind of work at to like get the spark back and maybe like reignite the romantic feelings. And that just never ended up happening, basically. So even though I, still stayed loyal, I wasn't like going out and dating or anything like that during all of that time. But I mean, in my mind, the relationship was dead long before we like actually physically separated from each other and like cut off contact. And I think that that is the case a lot of the time. So there's that aspect of it. But then also I saw this post on one of these therapy relationship pages that I follow. It says, we don't heal first and love later. We heal in love, through love, around love, in the presence of people who are safe enough, stable enough, willing enough to walk with us through the hard stuff. And then the caption says, all wounds are relational, so repair can only happen in relationship. You cannot self-love your way into wholeness, whatever that even means. You cannot journal your way into safety, and you definitely cannot self-heal. Yes, inner work matters, but at some point, real connection is required if you are to actually grow. Otherwise, it becomes a performance, a hyper-curated illusion of healing, a checklist, a brand. Look how self-aware I am. Look at my boundaries. Look at how I cut off everyone who triggers me. Look at how good I am at being alone. Recovery and isolation isn't healing, it's coping, it's management, it's control. It's a survival strategy dressed up as self-sufficiency. And while it might protect you from being hurt again, it also protects you from being truly seen. The only kind of repair that can reorganize our internal worlds is loving relationships, all kinds. That's the kind of story that rewrites the old story. And I thought that that was so perfect because that's kind of how I had felt. I felt like I'd done all of the inner work, like even way, way before my last relationship ended, I had been doing a lot of work and going to therapy and focusing on myself as a partner and like, what am I doing? What patterns do I have where I'm accepting things that I shouldn't be, or I'm maybe like attracted to certain things that should be a red flag? Or, how am I treating my partners? Or, what things am I potentially doing that's contributing to things becoming unhealthy? And I feel like I got to that point where I was like, okay, I feel pretty secure in myself. I feel like I've done all the work that I can being alone. Everything else now is a matter of like putting that into action. So yeah, I have been like consistently dating the same person. I'm still just like wanting to see where things go, because pattern I've recognized is I will be interested in a person and I get so wrapped up in the newness and the exciting parts of a new relationship and the physical aspects. And I think that when you're in a bubble with this new person, that's why like the show Love is Blind, right? Like you can be in the pods with someone and be so in love and obsessed with them and think this is my person. Like I found my soulmate. But then once you're out in the real world and you have to deal with real life shit, the bubble bursts and you're like, oh, maybe this isn't actually like what I thought it was. I think that anybody can feel really connected and happy in the pods, in the love bubble. So recognizing like, okay, just because you hit it off with someone and you're really like, you enjoy spending a lot of time together doesn't mean you have to like, doesn't mean it has to automatically just turn into a serious committed relationship. You can date for a long period of time to truly get to know the person in every kind of aspect. And obviously like you can be with someone for years and years and years and there's still going to be things that you're learning and discovering about them, obviously. But before I decide, okay, I want to be committed to this person and I want them to be my person, my partner, my boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, I want to make sure that I'm truly making an informed decision because it's going to be the right fit, not just based on, oh, I really like this person, or, oh, I really am attracted to this person, or, oh, I have a lot of fun with this person. Because I can be attracted to and have fun with tons of different people. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be like really good for me in a serious partnership, So anyway, but I feel like going through the motions and recognizing these things, you can't really do that until you're actually like putting it into practice, And I also truly believe like timing is everything and things will work out the way they're meant to, whether it's like, regardless of what you believe in, if you are religious and you believe it's God's will or the universe or just fate or, whatever it is, the simulation. I really do like to believe that things happen when they're meant to. And if someone comes into my life, I'm going to explore that. Why not? But that doesn't necessarily mean, like I said, that it needs to turn into something serious right away. Okay, speaking of which, I got quite a few questions about religion, which is so interesting. Do you believe that there's a God who created the universe, like Jesus, or do you think we are just here? I noticed you mentioned the universe a lot, not judging regardless of what you believe. Someone else said, I noticed you wore a beautiful cross necklace for quite a while. Are you starting to lean into Christianity? I've been wanting to ask, but I know that can be very personal. So my mom, her whole family is from Italy. So naturally, they are very Catholic. And I grew up Catholic, technically. Like I was baptized in a Catholic church. I went to Catholic school up until 4th grade, where we went to Mass every Friday. I did communion. And I always joke because I feel like every person I meet that had a similar childhood and similar upbringing are now not religious, or at least they're like very much against organized religion. And I always say like nothing will make you despise religion more than growing up Catholic. So the way I feel is I don't love organized religion. I don't like the idea of there being like rules. And for anyone, and again, I hope like I will always be the kind of person of like live and let live. Whatever brings you peace and joy and comfort and makes you happy and like that is wonderful. No judgment for me as long as you're not doing anything to harm another person. You're not wishing harm on other people, like you're a good, kind, loving person. That's wonderful. And I think that's all that matters at the end of the day. So I don't, want anything that I say to be offensive to anyone. This is just how I feel, what I believe. I don't feel comfortable saying, this is my belief system. This is the religion I'm choosing to follow. And this is what I think is right. And any other religion that thinks anything differently is wrong. Because how can you know that for sure? You don't. And if you really look at all of like the big main religions, there's so many overlapping details and stories. And there's just so many commonalities. So I do feel like there maybe is something to it, possibly. But again, how you could say like, well, my religion, my God is real, and this is all correct and factual, and my book of worship, every single word is correct. But yours, how stupid of you to believe that. That is absolutely wrong. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It seems so ridiculous and silly. So I will always say, I don't know. I don't necessarily have a strong belief system one way or the other, because I'm so open to the fact that no one knows for sure. And I kind of find comfort in that. I do feel like I would consider myself spiritual, because there are definitely things I believe outside of just like the physical world that we see. I've had a lot of experiences that I'm just like, that's, like I've had paranormal experiences. You guys know I've shared about it on my channel. But I do feel like there has to be something more to it. And honestly, a lot of the times I kind of lean towards the simulation theory. And I feel like with everything that's been happening in the world lately, it's just feeling more and more like that probably is what's happening. And I always say, like, anything is possible in a simulation. So that's like the easiest way to explain everything, is if this is a simulation, like, so to me, that just feels like probably the most simple, obvious answer to it. But yeah, I talk about the universe a lot because I do believe that there's like some sort of greater force. And again, whether it's the simulation or it's a god of some sort, or it's just this greater energy source, I don't know. But I feel like so many things happen in life that you can't just chalk it up to, oh, it's just a coincidence. There's just too many coincidences that are just too specific. And maybe it is just a coincidence, but like, that's boring to me. It's way more exciting to believe that like, no, this was meant to happen, and there was some sort of energy that was bringing this into my life, or bringing this person into my life. And as far as like wearing like a cross necklace and stuff like that, like even like I have the Madonna on my necklace, and this is also, I don't even know what's on this. This is also some kind of religious symbolism. A lot of my jewelry is stuff my mom has given me that used to belong to her, or my grandma's old jewelry. Like I said, super Italian and Catholic. So they just have a lot of that stuff. And I think it's beautiful. I think that a lot of religious art and symbolism is beautiful. Maybe some people would find that offensive. Like, how are you going to wear a cross necklace when you don't believe in God and Jesus and whatever? But to me, there's like more symbolism to it than just like, oh, either you're religious if you wear this or you're not. And it also, for me, just feels like childhood and family tradition. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to believe in like following these specific rules and all of that in order to like appreciate it, feel connected to it in a way. And also like, hello, if you had authentic gold jewelry from Italy, you're telling me you're not going to wear it? You guys know I love my gold jewelry. So that's how I feel about that. Okay, sorry if the angle changed a little bit. My battery died. Okay, I got quite a few questions also about not wanting to have children. How did you know you didn't want children? Is having children or wanting children a deal breaker for you? I think my whole life I always was on the fence about whether I wanted kids or not, because I never felt that like motherly urge. I don't know what it is. And I've talked to my mom about this, and she said how she always knew, like she always had like a baby doll she carried around. Like she always knew it was her calling to be a mother. And I just cannot relate to that feeling. I've never felt that way. Like, yeah, once in a while, if I see like a cute baby, I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I guess I'll get like a quick moment of like baby fever. But then the reality sets in and I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like none of that. When people are like, oh my God, like cute little pregnant belly. Absolutely not. Like there's nothing cute about that. Nothing appealing about that to me. The idea of being pregnant, childbirth, all of that, awful. And then like actually raising a human, Sounds awful. I see my friends with their kids and they're so happy and they love their children and like that's so great for them. I just don't see that for myself. And I've thought about it like, okay, maybe if I just had like one kid, I do think that I would be a good parent. And when people talk about like that unconditional love that you experience and how it's unlike anything else, like, yeah, that sounds lovely. But then I think about the state of the world. And I think about like everything that's happening with AI and with like our food system and how every day things are happening that feel more and more like an episode of Black Mirror. And that terrifies me. And I feel like I get enough anxiety thinking about like just the future for myself, the future of my own life, that if I had a child and like a future generation then to worry about, I couldn't even imagine. As far as it being a deal breaker or not, I mean, if I were to meet someone that already had kids, it's not an ideal situation. I don't want to say it's 100% a deal breaker because maybe not. But my thing is, if you already have kids, that's obviously going to be your number one priority. It's just extra baggage that I don't ideally want to have to deal with. And I'm just not really a kid person. And I would hope if I'm going to be with someone that has kids, like if you have kids and you're not involved in their life, no, goodbye. Like I'm not into that. That is a red flag to me. So I would hope that you're going to be very involved in their lives. And I'm not really interested in kid things. But also, I don't know. If I were to meet someone and it was like just a good, healthy dynamic and I really, really liked their kid, maybe, who knows? And maybe that could be kind of like a good balance because I would get that experience a little bit without like the full responsibility of it being my child and like going through the physical process of giving birth and all that. So I don't know, maybe. But as far as dating someone who doesn't have kids already but really wants them in the future, yes, that is a deal breaker. Because I think that that's a really big deal. That's a huge thing to be misaligned on. It's just going to create a lot of problems and resentment down the line. So I don't even want to go there. A lot of people wanted to know, like, what's the deal with my ex? Is he still here in North Carolina or did he move back? Like, where is he? Yes, he is back home in Pennsylvania, living in the same guest house on his parents' property, rent-free. And speaking of my ex, somebody else also asked about his relationship with my brother, because him and my brother were friends first. That's how I met him. And yeah, they're still friends. They're still cool. And I have no issue with that. Obviously, if someone like seriously betrayed me, that would be a different story. But just because like things didn't work out with us romantically doesn't mean that they have to be dead to each other and not like continue having a friendship. So yeah, there's no hard feelings. Somebody also asked, since we've had a history of being on and off again, do you think you will rekindle? If not, what was the final straw this time? I think having that conversation, knowing like, okay, the romantic feelings truly are gone. Whereas like when we broke up initially, the feelings were still there for both of us. It was just sort of like, I needed to get myself out of that because we were just like stuck in this like weird rut and I just like wasn't happy anymore. But I absolutely had the mentality of like, the door's not fully closed. It's just the timing's not great right now. We just need a break. But like, I knew we were probably going to end up getting back together at some point. Whereas now I knew, okay, we've exhausted every effort and it's just not there anymore for either of us. Also, I knew that I put everything into it. Like I gave every ounce of energy and time and effort and emotion and everything into it, therapy hours, and it just wasn't going to work. So I just came to that realization of like, okay, well, there's nothing left here. Like we're literally beating a dead horse. So no, there's no chance of rekindling. I wish him the best. I care about him still as a person, truly. I feel like if I've ever loved someone, I always will like have love for them and want the best for them and care about them as a person. How could I not, you know? But that doesn't mean that I'm like in love or want to be with them or have any romantic feelings anymore, you know? We're done. Like the door is officially pulled all the way shut. It is locked. We're done. Okay, let me finally just finish this makeup. All right, let's just do one last question. Being newly single, do you think it's weird if a guy tries to make a move on the first date, or do you think it's weird if they don't? I love hearing people's opinions on this. I think it totally depends on the situation. I have definitely done like the one night stand situation where I've like literally just met someone with the intention of just like casually hooking up and that's it, and we never speak again. I've had situations where I've like gone on a date with someone, hooked up with them that same day, and then continued to see them for a little while. I like my ex-boyfriend, first time we hung out one-on-one, our first date, I guess, we slept together and then ended up in an 8-year on and off relationship. And then I've also waited before doing anything physical with someone. Like there's been times where like I've wanted to right off the bat, and then there's times where I don't. So I don't know. I think it really depends on the situation, and it depends on the person, and it just depends on like where I'm at in my life in that moment or what I'm looking for. I always get nervous though, because when I'm meeting someone for the first time, if I don't know them, like I said earlier, I don't know if I'm going to be attracted to someone until I'm actually around them in person. So I always get nervous. I'm like, what if they try to make a move on me, but then it turns out I'm not attracted to them, and then it's like really awkward and uncomfortable. So I kind of prefer when they don't make a move, because then you can avoid that awkwardness and it takes the pressure off. And then I can decide like, all right, the second time I see them, like if I was feeling them that first time, then, you know, they can make a move and it's fine. I think in general, if someone were to ask me, like, should I make a move on the first date or not? I would say no, just to like play your cards safe. I think that like at the end of the date, definitely give them a hug, because that goes to show like, okay, I liked you. If you're not hugging them at all and you're just like, okay, bye, that to me is like, oh, I was not feeling this at all. I'm not into you at all whatsoever. Like, I want to just be friends or never see you again. But I think if you go in for a hug and it's like a real good, like genuine hug, because there's different kinds of hugs, right? Like there's like the quick casual, like, all right, it was nice to meet you, bye. But then there's like like you're really close, it's lingering a little bit. You can feel like you're fully like embracing the person, and you can feel like, oh, okay, they really like me. And then follow it up with like making plans to see each other the next time. Then that to me is obvious of like, oh, okay, like the person's into me, but they're trying to also like be respectful and not move too quick. I feel like if you're just like trying to go in and make a move right away, then that can also come off as like, oh, that's all you're interested in. Like you are just physically attracted to me and you just want to get some, and that's it. Anyway, I would love truly to sit here for like another hour and just answer more questions and keep talking about this stuff, but I need to wrap this up because I need to actually leave soon to go to work. But if you guys liked this and you want me to do another Q&A video and talk about more of this kind of stuff, leave your questions down below and maybe we'll do a part 2 in the near future. Yeah, this was really fun. Thanks so much for your questions. And I appreciate them being like a little more personal and kind of juicy. Like I'm totally here for that. That is going to be it for me this week. I hope you guys have an amazing week. I very much appreciate you watching, and I will see you next Monday with a new video. Bye.